Welcome back to Cinema Synopsis. Today I'm going to show you a 2008 American drama film called 7 Pounds. Spoilers ahead. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The movie begins with Ben berating a salesperson over the phone in his beach house. The salesperson happens to be blind, but he calmly ends the call despite Ben's rude behavior. After the call, Ben inexplicably shouts a list of 7 names, including his late fiancée, and then destroys a chair and slams it onto his coffee table. In the evening at the IRS office, Ben conducts an online search for someone in need of assistance. He comes across the craftswoman, who is burdened with hospital debt due to her congenital heart condition. Ben visits the craftswoman's residence, only to discover it unoccupied. The neighbor informs him that the craftswoman is currently hospitalized. Upon reaching the hospital, Ben proceeds directly to the cardiac wing. Inside the elevator, he encounters a woman dressed in a hospital gown, whom he recognizes as the craftswoman. Intrigued, Ben follows her. The nurse stationed at the desk asks Ben about the purpose of his visit. He expresses his intention to see the craftswoman, but the nurse informs him that visiting hours have ended and suggests he return the following day. The next day, Ben experiences a dream where he attends a meeting and then returns home to his fiancée. However, his sleep is interrupted by a phone call from his brother, who checks on Ben's well-being and living situation. Towards the end of the call, his brother questions whether Ben took something from him during his visit. Ben denies the accusation. Subsequently, Ben makes his way to an elderly care facility to meet with the facility's administrator. Introducing himself as an IRS agent. While observing the scene, Ben notices the administrator engaged in a conversation with an elderly woman, urging her to take her medication. Following this interaction, the administrator invites Ben into their office. Inside, the administrator asks Ben to extend the deadline for their debt payment, as they have used their funds for an unsuccessful bone marrow transplant and appeals for patients until they receive a bonus. Leaving the office, Ben decides to visit the elderly woman's bedroom. Curious about the administrator's character, he inquires if the administrator is a trustworthy person. In response, the old woman confides in Ben, revealing that the administrator provides her with medication that causes dizziness. Ben instantly rushes the old woman to the bathroom. Then Ben furiously scolds the administrator for his poor management. Ben arranges to meet his friend at a golf course and inquires about a doctor. However, his friend informs him that they haven't received a response from the doctor yet. Ben reminds his friend about a plan they had made. After their meeting, Ben heads to the cafeteria at the hospital. While there, he observes a young patient enjoying a meal and playing with their mother at a nearby table. From a distance, the craftswoman recognizes Ben and approaches him. Ben confronts the craftswoman, mentioning her significant debt to the government. In response, the craftswoman explains that she has recently been discharged from the hospital and is not yet ready to confront her debt. Understanding her situation, Ben leaves the craftswoman alone. Later that night, Ben rents a motel room for a 2-week period. Inside the room, he reads an old newspaper article detailing a car crash incident that resulted in the deaths of 7 individuals. The next day, Ben observes young hockey players practicing on the ice, while the coach kindly motivates his team from the sidelines. Afterward, Ben pays a visit to the craftswoman at her residence and mistakenly gives her dog a piece of meat, causing distress since both the craftswoman and her dog follow a vegetarian lifestyle. They then enter the house to discuss matters such as the craftswoman's source of income, health condition, and daily life. Ben shares his business card with the craftswoman, advising her to contact him if the IRS gets in touch with her. However, before leaving, the craftswoman questions why she feels indebted to him, to which Ben responds by expressing his belief that she deserves assistance. Later, at the beach house, Ben reminisces about joyful moments with his deceased fiancée by the shore. He then goes back inside, diligently cleaning and organizing the entire beach house. That night, Ben relocates his box jellyfish to his motel room, as he finds them to be the most captivating creatures he has ever encountered. The next day, Ben's friend rendezvous with him at his motel room, presenting him with a consent form for a kidney transplant. While Ben signs the document, his friend abruptly confesses his envy from their earlier years. In response, Ben tosses him a book, urging his friend to cease distracting him. Following their emotional conversation. After this encounter, Ben pays a visit to the specialist responsible for child and family services at the facility. During their conversation, Ben requests information about someone who is in desperate need of assistance but too proud to seek it themselves. The specialist provides Ben with the details of a Hispanic immigrant in such a situation. Inquisitive, The specialist asks Ben why he is engaging in such acts, to which he replies that he is merely lending a helping hand. Subsequently, Ben makes his way to the home of the Hispanic immigrant, introducing himself as an IRS agent. The immigrant, a victim of an abusive relationship, initially resists Ben's efforts, but he still leaves his business card behind in case she has a change of heart. While at the hospital, Ben engages in a conversation with the coach about the upcoming kidney transplant. The coach's face lights up with joy as he realizes that he will no longer require dialysis. Ben brings up the coach's involvement in assisting some of his players in obtaining college scholarships. The coach responds with a smile. The craftswoman takes her dog for a walk and passes by her neighbor's house, where she witnesses the beautiful blooming flowers. The neighbor then informs her that she followed Ben's advice and used banana peels for this effect. Upon returning home, the craftswoman suddenly feels lightheaded and collapses on her porch. Fortunately, her neighbor is present and calls an ambulance for help. Meanwhile, Ben follows the blind salesperson and observes him playing the piano in a public mall. Later, he spots the blind salesperson at a coffee shop, attempting to promote piano lessons to the waitress's son. Ben approaches the salesperson and suggests that he ask the waitress out, dropping the salesperson's name before bidding him goodnight. This action surprises the blind salesperson. During the night in his motel room, the craftswoman contacts Ben and shares the morning's events with him. Ben then leaves the motel and makes his way to the hospital where the craftswoman is receiving care. The craftswoman questions whether he contemplates death, to which he falsely denies, claiming it's not a constant thought, despite thinking about it daily. Ben shares with her a tale about a young boy named Tim who ventured up a tree wearing a bird costume, leapt down, and unfortunately broke his arm. It was at that moment that Tim developed a strong desire to soar through the air. Subsequently, the skilled artisan drifts off to sleep. Meanwhile, Ben promptly arrives at the hospital and settles into a chair near the artisan, catching some rest as well. Upon waking the next day, they receive disheartening news from the doctor regarding the artisan's enlarged heart and the limited time she has left to live. As a result, the doctor assigns top priority to her condition. In order to notify her when a suitable donor becomes available, the doctor provides her with a pager that will ring. The Hispanic immigrant contacts Ben, informing him that her boyfriend has once again subjected her to abuse. In response to the urgent call, during the car ride, the Hispanic immigrant is handed a letter and a deed to Ben's beach house, symbolizing a fresh start for her and her children. Ben assures her that her abusive ex-boyfriend will never be able to find them again and expresses his sincere wish for them to live a prosperous life. The next morning, Ben picks up the craftswoman and her dog from the hospital. As they embark on their journey, the craftswoman attempts to engage Ben in flirtatious conversation and get to know him better, but he dismisses her advances, particularly when she inquires about his romantic life. The craftswoman proceeds to give Ben a tour of her studio, where she houses her equipment for crafting letters and invitation cards. Within the studio, she presents Ben with the Heidelberg windmill, a 1956 model she affectionately refers to as the Beast. Unfortunately, the machine is no longer functional, and she struggles to find someone knowledgeable enough to repair it. Afterward, both of them travel to an empty field where she openly expresses her dreams that seem impossible because of her heart condition. Then that night, Ben sneaks to the craftswoman's studio to fix the Beast, accompanied by her dog. He returns home late and sleeps in his motel room. In there, he dreams about flashes of his late fiancée, copyright, a car crash, and blood on the road. Ben once again goes to the hospital to donate bone marrow. Upon reaching the motel, Ben experiences physical discomfort as he walks. The motel owner inquires about the duration of Ben's stay, but he responds by stating his intention to meet his demise in the motel room. Later, while lying on his bed, Ben receives a phone call from a skilled female artisan who invites him to a romantic dinner. After concluding the call, the craftswoman's nurse smirks at her. To his surprise, Ben arrives at night to find that the craftswoman, who seldom cooks extensively, has prepared a meal for him. She even provides him with a new set of clothes. They enjoy their meal, sharing laughter at the table and even indulging in a dance to her favorite music. Subsequently, they share a slow, daring kiss until Ben remembers the gift he has for her in the car. Ben proceeds towards his car when he unexpectedly encounters his brother waiting outside. However, the person everyone believed to be Ben is actually Tim, as Tim has assumed his brother's identity as an IRS agent to carry out a plan with his friend. Ben reproaches Tim for stealing his identity, emphasizing the criminal nature of his actions, where the craftswoman awaits him. Tim intends to leave, but the craftswoman approaches him and passionately kisses him. They end up on the bed, undressing each other, engaging in activities that bring them immense joy. After their intimate encounter, they engage in conversation about the possibilities in their lives and express their love for each other. Following their conversation in bed, the craftswoman falls asleep while Tim rushes to the hospital. He seeks out the craftswoman's doctor to inquire about the chances of finding a heart donor for a rare blood type. The doctor informs him of the low probability, and Tim expresses gratitude before leaving the hospital. In the pouring rain of the open night, Tim contacts his friend and states, "It's time," prompting his friend to cry, aware of what is about to occur. Tim expresses his love for his friend before ending the call. Back at Tim's motel room, he makes a final call to a blind salesperson, apologizing for the insults he hurled during their previous conversations. Tim explains that he did so to test the salesperson's patience and kindness. He introduces his friend as the one who will deliver Tim's gift to the blind salesperson. After the call, Tim fills the bathtub with ice, subsequently contacting emergency services to inform them of his intention to end his own life. He enters the freezing bathtub, allowing jellyfish to sting him fatally. Electrocution is his chosen method to preserve his organs. The movie concludes with a surgeon transplanting Tim's heart into the craftswoman's body during an operation. After collecting Tim's suicide letters from his motel room, Tim's brother proceeds to give one of the letters to a skilled artisan. During their conversation, he reveals that he had developed lung cancer following a car incident. Subsequently, Tim selflessly donates a lobe to his brother, followed by a partial liver donation to a specialist 6 months later. After their discussion, the artisan attends an event where a salesperson performs on the piano alongside a choir. Upon the event's conclusion, the artisan approaches the salesperson and notices that they are no longer blind. It dawns on the salesperson that the artisan is the same person they had recognized due to her post-operation scar. In a gesture of solace, the salesperson embraces her.